What's going on YouTube? So the Subaru Crosstrek has proved to be one of the brand's best-selling models because it has a great combination of style, capability, and affordability.
And for 2025, Subaru is continuing to build on that package by giving more power to more people this year.
So, is this a better choice than ever versus all the rivals? Well, let's go ahead and find out. Alright, so let's start things off as always under the hood for our spec dump. Now, you heard in the intro, we said more people get more power, and that's because the premium trim level now gets the more powerful 2.5 liter four-cylinder engine, making 182 horsepower. This is going to be paired to a continuously variable transmission, standard all-wheel drive of course, and our combined fuel economy is 29 mpg.
Now the base price doesn't rise much at $25,600, and if you're looking to buy a Subaru Crosstrek or any vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes to get the best price.
But let's go ahead and close up the hood so we can take a look at the exterior as well as the inside. Now for those of you tuned into the channel or very familiar with the Subaru lineup, you know that this was just recently redesigned, which is why the Crosstrek has all the latest and greatest Subaru design elements. That being said, it's not a huge departure from the previous generation. You still got that signature fascia going on through here, a nice little gray bar that runs through with a big Subaru badge, and just a little bit of kind of waves going through the grille itself. Now, one thing I do want to point out is the fact that we have a lot of ground clearance. This has standard 8.3 inches of ground clearance, which really helps its off-road ability. And they also offer the wilderness trim level at the very top end of the trims. And that one's going to give you all the extra rugged looks as well as more ground clearance. Now in terms of our lighting, we have a really nice standard feature. We have standard LED adaptive headlights across every single trim level. As you can see, we even have LED turn signal indicators and daytime running lights. Plus, down here below in this cladding, you have LED fog lamps on all but the base model. And then as we move around to the back, of course it's going to have that signature Subaru design that really ties it in with the rest of their crossover models.
Yeah, I'm really glad for this new generation. They didn't rock the boat too much. I think it looks really good. We have a spoiler up top, a wiper right here, and then as far as our taillights are concerned, these have a new look to them for the new generation. Let's see if all the elements are LED. So we do have an LED brake light portion, incandescent reverse light, and incandescent turn signal. So I'm a little disappointed that the Limited doesn't upgrade the lighting in the back, but overall it's pretty premium. And then as we drop down to the lower fascia, it's very rugged. This is a Crosstrek after all. As far as your tow rating, it does tow 1,500 pounds for this version as well as most versions. The Wilderness ups that to 3,500 pounds though.
And moving on to your wheels, you have the choice between a few different 17 or 18-inch alloys, depending on which version you choose. As you can see, this Limited comes with the nice contrast design. I think this is my favorite design of the bunch. Of course, you have that signature Subaru cladding. It's going to be even thicker if you choose the Wilderness trim. As we come up here to our mirrors, we've got a kind of dark gray finish going on for both the premium and the Limited trim levels. If you want heating, you need to choose the Sport trim level or above, and blind spot monitoring is standard here on the Limited trim and available on your lower models.
Now at the side of the Crosstrek, the overall vehicle length is about 176 inches long, which is a good length for this segment. And I also want to point out you have raised roof rails on the vast majority of models, and you can get even beefier ones if you choose the Wilderness model. Now, as far as your safety systems are concerned, I'm also happy to tell you that you get every single one of those as standard equipment on all of the trim levels. That will even include things like auto high beams and adaptive cruise control. The only caveat to that is that you will have to choose a Limited or Wilderness model if you want rear auto braking. But guys, there's a quite nice cabin on the inside, so let's dive into that. But first, if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We started young, and since then we have reviewed over 2,000 vehicles at every price point.
No matter what you're looking for, from humble to high-end, we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family.
Let's learn a lot and have some fun with all the latest cars. Now let's go ahead and check out the interior. First, as always, here's the key fob. typical Subaru key fob, you get smart entry on all but the base trim level. And that means you can just walk up to the vehicle, grab behind the handle, and that will unlock the door. And by the way, as I'm kind of climbing inside here, I do want to point out this color is called Alpine Green. I forgot to mention it on the outside, but it's a really nice looking color. Now, checking out the interior, as you can see, there's a lot of elements inside of here which are shared with the other Subaru products, such as the Outback and the Forester. And I want to start off by talking about the seats. So Subaru actually changes the seats for every single trim level depending on which one you choose. Obviously, your lower trims are going to come with cloth seats. However, here on this top Limited, this is where we get a real leather seat. I really like this design here because we've got the two-tone finish. We have black and gray. We also have perforation with colored inserts and stitching throughout, so it's really nice. It's also a very comfortable seat. And the Limited is the only trim level which will get 10 ways of power adjustment as standard equipment. Memory seats are not available. But let's go ahead and climb inside. And now that we're inside, let's tour the cabin materials here on this Limited. We've got a leatherette across the armrest portion here and all through this entire center section with a stitching detail. As far as accenting material, we have a faux carbon fiber. As we move to the upper dashboard, this is all going to be a hard touch plastic. This part here is actually a hard touch plastic as well, even though it does have a texture applied to it. And then down below, we have more of that faux carbon fiber. And then that same gray material will go across the console here. Let's go ahead and fire it up with our push button start. This is included on all but the base model as well. Now jumping in with some of the individual features, we have our gauge cluster. In typical Subaru fashion, it is a mostly analog setup. They keep it nice and simple. You've got a 4.2-inch multi-function display in the middle where you can cycle between some kinds of information. Pulling back to the steering wheel, this is their signature design as well. Your top trims will come with the leather wrapping and the colored contrast stitching. The wheel itself is manual, tilt, and telescoping. But let's pivot over here and talk about interior storage. Because this fits into a segment of pretty small SUVs, you might be surprised by how much space is actually inside of here. So when I open up our center console, you'll notice that we have donuts inside. That's our logo, so that's why we like to stick them in there. We want to see the volume. In this case, this Crosstrek passes our donut test today because it fits in a full dozen. That's very impressive for this segment. In front of that, we've got our two cup holders, which have adjustable inserts. And then in front of that, we've got a wireless phone charging pad, which is nice and large, and some USB connections above that. Taking a look at the shifter, just a traditional style unit, pull back for drive, bump over here to the left if you want to shift through some simulated gear changes with the paddle shifters. Heading into reverse, here is our standard backup camera. This is going to be included across the entire lineup because the 360 camera is not available, nor is a 180 degree camera. This is just going to be the standard camera. And then back behind that, you have your electronic parking brake. As we move to the side, you'll notice that we have these toggles. These are for our heated seats. Heated seats are included on the Sport trim level and above, and as you can see, they have 2 stages. Just be aware ventilated seats are not offered. There are a couple of the rivals that do have that available on the very top end. And of course, a lot of our controls are going to be located right in this area. I'll begin by talking about our climate controls. They are dual zone automatic. That's actually standard across all trim levels, and you can make those adjustments both here in the touchscreen, or your primary temperature control is just right here with these physical buttons. Another physical button above that is our volume knob. We've got the standard 6-speaker sound system on board. You also have an available Harman Kardon sound system on this Limited and the Wilderness, but let's hear what that standard 6-speaker one sounds like. Okay, I'm honestly pretty impressed by that. You know, even though it's the standard 6-speaker sound system, it does fill up the cabin really well. But if you do spring for the Harman Kardon, know that that is one of the best sound systems in the subcompact crossover segment. Okay, let's take a look now at the main display. So this is our 11.6-inch main display. This is standard on all but the base model. If you choose the very base model, you get this double 7-inch display setup, which is a little bit strange, but all the rest of them will come with what you see right here, right now. This has Subaru's latest Starlink system, which means we have wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. You can also option on built-in navigation as well. Up top here, we've got a auto-dimming mirror with HomeLink remotes. That is an available option. And then you'll notice that we don't have a sunroof on today's example. This is something that Subaru offers on all the trims except for the base model.
Now let's dive into the rear seat area for this Crosstrek. Now, this has always been a bright spot for this vehicle that continues for 2025 because we have a lot of space and also a lot of features for this segment. So we're sitting at about 36.5 inches of legroom and about 38 inches of headroom. Those are both pretty impressive figures for this segment, and I'm 5'8" for reference. This seat is adjusted, or I'm 5. I know. I'm 5'9" for reference, and Drew is 5'8". And as far as how much extra knee room I have, that's going to be about 7 inches. So that's a good amount, especially for this segment. My feet can also slide up underneath of the seat. And as far as features, unfortunately, we don't have vents, but we are going to have 2 charging USB ports, so that's pretty nice. And then if we fold down the center armrest, we have 2 cup holders inside. That's a good thing that we do have those 2 cup holders because that's where our Stanley water bottle is going to have to go because it does not fit in the door storage, so keep that in mind. Now, as far as the door itself, it is going to be hard touch pretty much from top to bottom, but we do have a nice leatherette armrest portion. You have room for probably a normal size water bottle in the door as well. And then as far as the seat itself, we do not recline, so do keep that in mind. Now walking up to the Crosstrek's tailgate area, we do have a manually opening tailgate across all of the trim levels. That's pretty common for this segment. And as far as how much space you're going to find, well, it's actually going to be a good amount. It's going to be sitting at around 19 cubic feet behind the second row of seats, and then expand up to about 55 cubic feet with those seats folded. Now, if you're curious as to how this compares amongst all of its numerous rivals, this is a very large segment. We'd encourage you to go to carconfections.com/vehicle rankings. Now, the reason you do that is because that will actually allow you to see which ones in the segment have the largest cargo capacity, which ones in the segment have the smallest, as well as other areas that might be important to you, such as technology and reliability. So that'll be a very useful tool in this very crowded subcompact segment. Now coming back to the cargo area, as far as features, we do have a 60-40 split folding cargo area. So you just reach up here, pull these little toggles, and that will go ahead and fold it down to give you that maximum 55 cubic feet. And this is a Car Confections review after all, so one of the things we do in all of our reviews is get cargo length, width, and height figures in case you're looking to haul something specifically. From behind Drew's 5'8" position, we're looking at 66 inches of length. From behind the second row, about 32 inches long. As far as overall width, that's 39 inches, and height, I'm going to do my best with the cargo cover installed just to kind of give you a good estimate, about 29 inches tall. Underneath of the floor, we do have a spare tire. Well guys, here we are behind the wheel of the 2025 Subaru Crosstrek. In this test drive, we're going to be discussing quite a few different things, as you can see on the screen right now, discussing that new powertrain change as well as getting our sound level reading. But first, we want to go ahead and start with a hard acceleration.
There we are, accelerating up to speed with this Subaru Crosstrek. So of course, as we were talking about at the spec dump, really the big change this year is the fact that more people get more power.
Yep.
So now you've got that larger displacement engine on board with starting at the premium trim level.
Yeah, so that's every one of them, besides for that very base model, will get this setup, which I think is a huge improvement. We actually drove the premium model for a full week, and while that's not like a horrible powertrain choice, I'll go ahead and hit you with those numbers just so in case you're looking to buy the base model. It's 152 horsepower, 145 pound-feet of torque out of a 2-liter naturally aspirated Boxer 4. Well, it's not horrible. It's certainly going to be on the slower end. This really makes it actually on the faster end for this subcompact segment for most of the trim levels out of its 2.5-liter Boxer 4-cylinder, 182 horsepower, 178 pound-feet of torque. I think, Drew probably think the same thing. It's a big improvement for sure.
Oh, yeah, definitely. In this segment of vehicle, you don't really expect to have huge power figures, but that amount of power is actually one of the better in the segment, and the fact that Subaru is expanding that to be most of the trim levels as well, I mean, that's really a big benefit, and I think is something that's going to help stand out against the competition. As far as the transmission is concerned, all versions come with a CVT. And overall, it's nice and responsive as well. They've done a good job of giving it a linear feel, and I think it's a good match for the engine.
Yeah, and of course, this is a Subaru after all, so you are going to have their symmetrical all-wheel drive system as standard equipment on every version. That's another thing worth noting because, especially on the base end now, for your more basic trim levels, the base and premium, you're going to have that as standard equipment, and I think it even makes a more compelling case for the premium trim level now that you have all-wheel drive and the upgraded powertrain. And now that we're just cruising down the highway section here, I want to take a second to discuss ride quality for the Crosstrek. Now, this has always been a pretty strong element for this model, and I think that continues for 2025. You're going to have pretty good ride quality for this segment. It does a good job of soaking up the bumps when you hit them in the road, and also I find these seats to be pretty comfortable. I would say that maybe a few other options of the segment might be slightly more comfortable, but overall I'm very happy with the ride in this. Alrighty, and we are going to speed up here to 55 miles per hour so we can get our sound level reading in this top-end version of the Crosstrek and see how quiet it is. .9 decibels is what we switched to at the very end there. I do want to make a little bit of a caveat as to that sound level reading because it is very windy outside today. You'll probably see that, or probably have seen that throughout this entire video, but I think it's like 30-some mile-an-hour winds. So that's definitely making it a little bit louder inside this cabin than what I would expect on the normal, but we don't have to sit here and guess how it compares to other subcompacts. We can go to carconfections.com/sound level readings, and on our website we've posted them all. And that's going to place it very similar to the Crosstrek Premium that we tested out last model year, and it is going to be on the louder end of the segment, but it's not too bad overall. I will point out that, of course, Subaru is a little bit more outdoorsy, so you do have a little bit of a taller roof and some rails up there, so that does also affect your sound level.
All right, so let's talk about today's Slam Dunk and Airball. I'll begin with the Slam Dunk. The Slam Dunk is more power for more people, like we already talked about. That's really just a big improvement and means that you don't have to spend an arm and a leg to get a more powerful offering than most other things in the segment.
Yeah. On the airball side of things, we are going to nitpick just a little bit, but what we're going to say is that this limited trim level specifically, it's the highest end Crosstrek that you can get. I'm a little disappointed that the cabin isn't a little bit more elevated than the other trim levels. We spent, like I said, a week with the premium version not that long ago, and while it wasn't, worlds more expensive, this one, as compared to that. The cabin isn't really all that different. We still have some, kind of hard touch materials through here. It used to be leatherette on the previous Crosstrek Limited, the pre-generation. So just keep that in mind. It's not going to be as nice as maybe some of the other offerings in the segment that are pushing at this $35,000 price tag, like the CX-30. That was your auto start stop system. It is a little bit rough, but that helps you to get pretty good fuel economy. One thing I'm really happy to tell you is that this bigger output 2.5 liter Boxer 4 actually gets the exact same combined fuel economy figure as the weaker 2 liter Boxer 4. 29 mpg is what you're sitting at, which I think is actually a really good figure for having all-wheel drive as well. So not bad at all. Keep in mind, if you get the Wilderness, that does reduce it down to 27 mpg because it sits up a little bit taller. Let's discuss pricing for the Crosstrek. So for 2025, we're going to start at $25,695 for the base model. Premium's going to be barely more than that at $26,945. You, of course, have several other trim levels. You can see those on the screen right now. And as far as this one that you've been viewing today, this is the Limited. We start at $31,395, 2025. We have a couple accessories and options, plus the 1420 destination. We're sitting all told at $34,219. As far as other things you might be curious about if you're looking to buy one, your warranty is going to be a 3-year 36,000-mile basic and a 5-year 60,000-mile powertrain. And if you're looking to buy one, go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. Now, the reason you do that is because we have a tool on our website that will connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool for dealership negotiation and can help the dealers to compete on pricing. We additionally have a monthly payment tool if you're interested in using that. You can find a link to that in the description down below, as well as a pinned comment. But buying a car is about more than just the original MSRP, so let's dive into resale and reliability. First up, let's talk about resale value. As an economics graduate myself, Drew and I took the time to develop what we think is a good estimate for this Crosstrek's potential resale value. We estimate that after 5 years and 60,000 miles, it'll be worth 63.03% of original MSRP, and after 10 years and 120,000 miles, 23.7%. Now, it's worth noting, those are very good resale value percentages. It's actually the third best among every vehicle make. It's really only beaten by Toyota and Honda, so those are really impressive figures, and especially with this Crosstrek being on the cheaper end of the price spectrum, I'd maybe even expect a higher percentage than that.
Now, we've also done the same for reliability by developing the Combined Reliability Index. This takes into account several studies from trustworthy sources and combines them in a way that gives you a more holistic picture. In this regard, Subaru rates quite highly in terms of its overall reliability versus other vehicle makes.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about our resale values and reliability data, as well as our methodology, be sure to go to carconfections.com/resale and carconfections.com/reliability. Buying a car is a big decision, so you want to make sure you're making a smart purchase, especially if you're cross-shopping between different vehicle brands. And guys, that's going to be it for our in-depth review of the 2025 Subaru Crosstrek. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, which we hope you did, we'd really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you're going to get the latest car reviews such as this on 2025 changes, and you're also going to be a part of our Car Confections family. We have a lot of fun on this channel. I promise you won't want to miss out. We'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.